Like when people used to say ignorance is bliss, like I never really understood that until I understood
I don't be
it.
enjoying nothing. I'm serious about everything.
Like, fuck, I wish I didn't know this shit. I'm still ignorant when it comes to Chick-fil-A, but like, cause that's one thing I can't really recognize the truth on just yet. But it's hard. Okay.
Same. I'm gonna get that cookies and cream milkshake
every time. I mean, shit, I still eat my mama food sometimes.
This show is brought to you by Hey, Me First.
Watching Heavy on the Fields with Aaron May.
We're working on his healing. You know we're glowing and it's giving. Tell me, can you feel me?
You watching Heavy on
It be heavy on the feelings.
I woke up.
Hey y'all, come on in. This is Heavy on the Feelings, where we talk about the power and freedom in feeling your feels. And I am your host, Erin A. I'm like that homegirl you call every 2 weeks and catch up on the phone with. And this is our date. So I hope wherever you are right now, you are getting cozy, you are softening up, because we got some shit to talk about today, okay? So my guest for this episode is best known for being very smart, very ghetto, and very, very rich. By day, he does things like lead workshops to help you become better leaders who are equipped with the skills and resources to be successful in your career so you can level your life up. And at night, he drags the racist homophobes to shreds on Twitter and then hops on YouTube and drags them some more, sometimes in a song, sometimes in a rap, but either way, it is all facts, okay? And our guest never hesitates to give us a look or a storyline by plane, train, automobile, or boats, okay? So y'all, please welcome to the show, Soldier Roy P. Parrish, aka Pardon Me with P, okay?
Wow. Okay, listen, hold on. I don't even know like what to say. Like that was so amazing. Pardon me. Listen, everything that you said, I'm over here like, damn. Like, okay, I feel like how they feel on Club Shay Shay after he break down that whole thing, and they be like, wow, thank you so much. That's literally how I feel.
Do my intro every time.
Oh wow, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. How are you feeling today?
I'm excited. I'm really excited. Like as you already said, like I think what all of that says to me is like I'm not afraid to feel the things, and so I feel like this is a great space for me to be in. So thank you for having me.
You feeling safe? Is it giving?
Yeah.
Is it giving? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's important. Yes. So I came ready for the tea with P.
Okay. Period.
How is your tea? I made a chai tea for P, well, and also the crew, which you can't see, but it is like a little special blend that I be doing, and the girls love it. So I asked him what kind of tea he wanted before he came, and he was a little hesitant on the chai, but I was like, my crew loves it. And he was like, oh yeah, give me that. So how's it going now?
It's hitting. When I tell you, it's hitting.
If you haven't met Parrish before, or you don't follow his social media, maybe you live under a rock, but that's okay, because we're gonna get you caught up today. So one of the things that I think really made me realize like, oh, his storytelling abilities are really good is maybe last year, the year before, when you were talking about your family, you were airing out your family group chat. So can you tell our viewers like a little bit a synopsis of what was happening then and what was going on? Because the storytelling abilities that you have is important for the journey of this episode and where we're about to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I feel like that moment was like a pivotal like moment in my like social media presence, or like what people I guess like when they thought of Parrish or like thought of P, you know, like what they thought about. So it's funny that you bring it up, because I always think about like, damn, like where did all these people like start following me on Twitter from? And it's from letting the folks know what my family was putting me through. But so during that time, it was, I believe that was like 2021. And so
that seemed like a long time ago.
It seems like so long ago, right? And so it's such an interesting story, because it's a lot of like family drama, and that family drama kind of like led to me finding out that my family was homophobic. And so basically the situation why we were even arguing in the group chat in the first place is that, so my grandparents, they had a home up here. But they also have a home down south. And so when I moved back home from college, I had my own place. But then, you know, rent started to rise, all of that. So I'm like, okay, my grandparents got this house up here. They not here, you know, like, let me just stay there. So I stayed there for a minute. The plan was never to like stay there forever, right? But I went to jail, got a DUI. So like that kind of like halted the progress that I was planning to have. And so I stayed longer than what I had anticipated. And so because of that, I was in the family house longer than I anticipated. And so whatever the case might be, the house ended up becoming mine. So the house is in my name through whatever decisions my grandparents decided to make. And so at the time of this whole group chat situation, my dad and my uncle had found out that the house was in my name. And so typically, right, you would assume like, oh, somebody's parent finds out that they have a house in their name, it's a family house, it shouldn't be a problem, right? Because that's
like, we want that for our babies,
right?
Yeah,
literally, like that's generational wealth. Like what people are talking about, like I'm blessed by that, but it's also coming with the ignorance of
it's very complex
other things, right? And so they found out, and they go to the group chat and began to berate my grandmother. Not necessarily telling the whole group chat why they're mad at her, but just saying crazy stuff out of nowhere. And you know, well, folks might not know, but my grandma is like my person, right? So if you come from my grandma, you coming for me. So I got something to say back. And at this time, like I really didn't have no beef with nobody because like I just stayed to myself.
Right.
But when they was in the chat talking about my grandma, you know, like I jumps in, you know, and when I get to talking, I get to talking. So so I was saying some stuff, basically, you know, like letting them know, like, you know, chill on her. But I also didn't know at the time that they were attacking her because of the house. I thought they had some other shit going on. And so when I jump in, the like conversation turns towards me now. So I really didn't mind that because like,
we could go there.
Yeah, we can go there. Like, I have a rebuttal for anything, right?
No problem.
No problem. And so, that was like the first like group chat incident. Nothing really happened too much since then. I mean, nothing really happened too much from that moment, right? Like, it kind of like phased out because the argument had stopped. Now, a couple days later, it was Father's Day. And my grandma calls me crying. And at this time, I had a boyfriend and I was at his house. So I wasn't at home, but my grandparents were in town for Father's Day or whatever. So they were at the home that I live in. So my grandma called me crying. She like, yeah, like my sons are mad at me. They're telling me they're going to cut me off, blah, blah, blah. You know, just like all of this stuff, right? And so I'm like, listen, I'm tired of this. I say, all right, hold on.
Right.
So I call my uncle on three-way because why is my grandma crying in this Father's Day and why is all her sons giving her these?
Like, what the fuck going on?
Like, what's going on? So I'm like, hey, why is Nana crying? And so he like, well, you know, we just found out about the house, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, all right, so what's the problem? What's going on? We get into a whole back and forth. He belongs to the school of thought of your parents should pass the things down to their children pass the things down to their children.
It can't go grandma to grandbaby.
Right. So that was the whole basis of his argument or whatever. And so I told him like, hey, it is what it is, right? Period, point blank. So he didn't like that I was advocating for me and my grandma in that moment. He like, all right, well, I'm just about to come to the house. I'm like, well, I'm not at home. He like, okay, well, I'll just be waiting for you till you get there. I said, okay, well, I'm on the way. So
see you soon.
See you soon, very soon. Okay, soon and very soon. Yeah, so I pulls up. I'm on my way to the house. I pulls up, but on my way there, I called my brother, right? And so we're at the house together. Things happen in the house. I mean, things happen once I get there. My dad is already there. His brother is there. So it turns into this whole, like, fiasco that shouldn't be a thing just because a house is in my name. But because they saw that I wasn't backing down, like, they left. But then they turned to the group chat and started to, like, attack me, right? And so they're in the group chat going crazy, literally like my dad is saying all this like homophobic stuff. I go to the group chat like, yeah, you know, you scared or whatever, blah blah blah. This nigga says, well, you know, I really don't want to fight any gay dudes because you might try to touch my booty. Like, what? You're 50 years old. Like, grow up. What are you talking about?
And my daddy?
Okay, and my daddy? Like what?
Please be so fucking for real.
Be so for real, right?
Period.
Pause. And so like that is just the stuff that I had to like deal with, you know, like just going back and forth with them over a whole situation that really shouldn't be a thing, because like I minded my business, I did nothing to nobody.
Is this the first time you're realizing your family is homophobic, or like in terms of it being enacted in your direction?
Maybe like that was the first time that it was overt. That was the first time that it felt like dangerous. That was the first time that it felt malicious. But growing up, like you can pick up when like things are not okay.
Yeah.
Right. So though they never like came out and said like, oh, we don't fuck with gay people, just like typical conversations, like, oh, if somebody walks past, like, oh, what he got on?
He a fag.
Right. Faggot
ass nigga.
Right. Yep. And then me sitting there as a faggot ass little boy, I'm thinking like, oh shit, I can't do that. You know?
It's not safe here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to experience that.
Thank you for that. And I think at a time, like there was a time where I felt like sorry for that too. But honestly, in retrospect, like that moment or like me. So first, to even like go back to the whole like chat situation, I never really told my family that I was gay. It wasn't until they came over to the house and then the whole drama started and then the group chat conversation started that my dad came to the chat and was like, well, ain't you gay anyway? And I'm like, yeah, very gay. So what? What about it? Because my whole thing is like, though
what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that, right? And the whole thing is, though I'm gay or like I'm this thing that you might have a problem with, like literally when you look at it, I'm probably one of the most self-sufficient people that you know of in this.
Yeah,
in this
you
group,
you
right?
are the black sheep and the golden child,
right? You know, and it's just so interesting to like be the target for certain things when I'm like seemingly like doing very well, or like what people will be proud of their like family member or child to be able to do. But then the other flip side, I'm getting like pictures of me sent around from my Instagram just because I'm looking sexy. So like, okay, it's getting sexy. So it's just very interesting. But I say that is probably one of the most like pivotal moments for me. Because honestly, like I've never felt freer since that moment.
Yeah.
And like prior to that happening, like I don't know if I ever had really thought about coming out. Like I don't know if I ever really thought about like what my life would be if I was able to be the Parrish that I am right now. And if it was never for that moment, though it was hurtful, it's like, damn, like now I'm able to be the baddest bitch in the world. And
nothing can hold me back now.
And like have no problems about it.
Yeah. Another thing that I feel like you have got since then is like how to really leverage your pain and turn it into an outlet for you. Yeah. Which is comedy. Yeah. Yeah. And you do that in a lot of different ways. Like most recently, you did it with a couple of breakups. Well, a breakup song kind of, and then like just like a song about longing. Yeah. As you're getting into this space where you're feeling freer, you are giving yourself permission to like date more publicly and to be open. And you're just getting out of a pretty serious relationship right now. Yeah. How has that been navigating the relationship? But navigating a relationship when it's kind of your first serious relationship being out. Yeah. It's been an interesting thing, but I feel like because I haven't had my first serious relationship, like heartbreak has been kind of null and void. Like when I was dating niggas, I did not give a fuck. Yeah. Okay, we don't go together no more.
So, yeah, no, like it's crazy that you asked because like I've been thinking about that a lot lately because like even after the like serious breakup that I had, like I had another experience in love that I wasn't quite ready for, and I think it's because of the like inability to experience things out loud that heterosexual folks can, right? And so I think like just what's so interesting about like being gay and trying to navigate love and like not do it in a toxic way is that depending on who you are and like what your like coming out story is, like you might have to learn these things later on in life.
Yeah.
And so like the last relationship I was in, it was like a 3-year relationship. But at the start of that relationship, I was not out publicly yet. Granted, Parrish always presented as Parrish. I never like acted like too, like whatever. Like I always
You just you.
Right. Like I always was Parrish, but I never say it out loud like I'm gay. And like even that is an interesting conversation because like in the grand scheme of things, I might be more pansexual, but I think just being gay is easier for folks to conceptualize and easier for me to explain to folks.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like bisexual when it comes to being interested in more than one gender. There's a lot of discounting that experience. Like this is just for exploration. Like you're not really gay. You just like to fuck with niggas sometimes. Versus like you can go get a woman. And it's like gay helps people understand like this is the kind of relationship that I prioritize in my life.
Absolutely. Because like even though I've had sex with women, even though I was almost a baby daddy, like even though all of that stuff, right? Like I always knew like niggas is my priority. But so I say that to say like with all of that, I didn't really experience like a lot of the like lessons in love until like later on. And so when I first had that relationship, I wasn't out at that time. Like I think we started dating maybe like September 2019. And so at that point, like, like I was just dating how I usually date, like whatever. But then when the situation with my family happened, now I'm out and I got this boyfriend, like it feels different now. Cause like, damn, I can post us in a picture together. Yeah. I don't gotta like, like be
off to the side
when I'm like with him in public. So like it was a new thing for me to get used to, but still being that like socialized gay to like hide your stuff. It was so difficult to understand like how I really was supposed to operate in that situation. And then like being with somebody who was out longer than I was, they're ready.
Their expectation is, hey, show me off.
Come on, nigga, come on. Yeah. And I'm sitting here like, I am doing that. Can't you see? And it's like, nigga.
Because before we wasn't doing none of this.
Right, none of this was happening, right? But I think that like put me in a like tough situation because if this person is expecting to build something and your idea of building is just being able to be out in public with that person, like it's gonna be like some type of
there's a mismatch,
disconnect.
There's a mismatch, absolutely. I think coming out in later adulthood in your later 20s is a wild ass experience. I feel like just navigating, for me coming into my queerness, I felt like coming into my queerness and being open about my queerness felt like two very different experiences. I feel like the way I navigate the world and being with a woman partner versus a male partner is very different. And the safety is very different and it's concerning and alarming. And also like how people talk about you being with a woman or probably you being with a man is very different from you being in a heterosexual relationship. Like the need to know who you're with is very different. Also, the gay community here in Detroit is so messy.
So messy and so small.
So messy. It's the size of a pin needle. Okay. So I can imagine that you navigating the safety of being a Black gay man first and foremost in a very pretty homophobic, patriarchal city that we live in, misogynist city that we live in, both for men and women. There's also a lot of like confusion and difficulty between I want to be out, but does out have to look like a certain way again for that safety? Especially as a Black gay man, I think Black women who are queer or gay or lesbian have a different level of danger when they navigate versus being a Black gay man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it depends upon like how you
present
show
yourself
up in the world as well, right? Yeah.
So that's like, I can just imagine feeling a lot of guilt too from ending the relationship, however it came out, and feeling like, damn, I was trying really hard. And now I have to relearn not even relearn because you never learn, but I have to teach myself how I want to show up publicly with a person that I love, what these actions look like for me, where I feel safe and comfortable doing it. Also, you're very public facing. So there's an additional barrier of just like niggas being in your business who shouldn't be in your business just because you on the internet and you're funny and you're gay. So you have an additional target.
And like, what's so interesting is like, I can't. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
The other part to like being gay and like coming out later in life is that like, though I was trying, like, even though like I was trying to get like new to that new like world that I was in, right? I was socialized to certain behaviors that were detrimental to that. So like being gay, right? Like you being gay in a homophobic world, like you quickly find out that you like the things that you would like to do can most likely be done in secret, right? Like you have to do things in the margins, right? So like when I gotta find a nigga, I can't really go out and find him in public. I gotta go to like some sketchy app and figure out like, hey, can you send me a picture?
Club,
can you do right? You know? And so like, depending upon like who you are as a person, right? When you're going through things, like you revert back to those behaviors that you once sought comfort in. And most likely, if you're somebody who's gay, who is in this space where you can't be out, like the comfort that you seek might be in some of those shadowy places or some of those dark places or doing some of those things that might not necessarily be the best for you. But then trying to seek that comfort is not going to help you solve the situation that you're in because you're doing it the wrong way. And that's a privilege that I think heterosexual people don't really realize, is that a lot of the places that they seek refuge in, gay folks don't really have that option. And so when they see us and see us as being toxic folks, it's because society created the spaces to where we can only get comfort through toxicity.
Through toxicity, through literally queer ways.
Yeah.
Like shit that is not normal. That is literally the definition of queer. A little different.
Yeah.
And we have to, for survival, we create these alternative ways, similarly to Black folks.
Yes.
Right? But then there's this additional intersection of my humanity that I think doesn't get counted to and spoken to. And I want to talk more about that after this commercial break. This show is brought to you by Hey, Me First. Welcome back, y'all. So what we were talking about before the commercial break was the ways that being Black and being queer are at constant like intersection with each other, at odds with each other even. Something I saw recently, I was having a conversation with briefly, was about everyone being like, oh, we can go back to Africa. Like Black people can go back to Africa. But it's like, sometimes as a queer person, I'm more scared of being queer in a very homophobic place than I am of being Black in a anti-Black place. Yeah. Especially in America. Like, yes, racism is alive and well. I will not discount that. However, navigating in my Black body, there are more places where I feel safe, at least okay enough to move around in the daytime, right? Yeah. Versus like if I was in certain countries and I was holding my partner's hand. And that is kind of insane. And I don't think there are enough people who can really grasp that. And it's an age-old conversation we've been having in the Black community, you know, since Carter G. Woodson, Sojourner Truth, and like these older, our elders, okay, our elders and our ancestors, like these Black scholars were talking about, hey, I am Black, but I'm also queer. Yeah. Or I'm Black, I'm also a woman, and I'm queer. Like these things impact how I navigate the world. And I can't necessarily, just because I'm Black, I can't necessarily navigate these spaces the same because you're Black. I have this additional barrier. Yeah. How has navigating Detroit as a Black gay man been? Yeah.
Just like navigating life as a Black gay man. And just so like, I talk about this a lot, just even in the work I do. Just like how identities that we have, right? And depending upon like who you are, you might not even recognize the privilege in the identities that you have. And I think just in the world that we live in, like we're made to believe that privilege is one concept for certain folks, right? And we might only think about like certain types of privilege, like male privilege or white privilege, right? But depending upon your identities, all of us have identities where we experience privilege and we experience
oppression.
Absolutely, right? And so for me, as a Black gay Christian man, right, like a lot of those things are at odds. Cause like I talk about this at work all the time. It's like sometimes I feel too Black for the white spaces, but I'm too gay for the Black spaces. So no matter where I go, I'm going to be marginalized by somebody in some way. Yeah. And that's just such a tough
And too gay for the Christian spaces.
And too gay for the Christian spaces,
and
right?
too black too for the Christian spaces too.
And too black, right?
It be too much sometimes.
Okay, listen, you too much everywhere you go. So like, it's just like. So I talk to my other like black gay friends about it all the time. Like we often joke, it's like, damn, who can I run to? Right?
When I need love.
Okay, when I need love. And it's just such an interesting like lived experience because I love all of that I am. I love being black. I love being gay. I love being Christian. I love that I have a speech impediment. Like I love all the things about me, but depending upon like where I am, those things might not be loved by those people.
And how do you not let that dictate how you feel about yourself? Because you come off as very confident.
Yeah.
Like you come off, I think you get that from your grandma a little bit. Like you don't let nobody talk to you crazy.
Yeah.
You stand firm in who you are. You double down even on who you are. Like, oh, y'all niggas was mad and I was in my thong bikini.
I'm about to turn it up.
Post it up.
Okay.
Posting it on all my platforms. Actually, you about to get 45 reels,
Okay,
17
ass
pictures, all ass, slow motion, fast motion. I'ma sit down on you. Like it's a lot. So,
Right.
like, how do you not let that become internalized?
So I think a lot of the foundation of my confidence, or just like me being so secure in who I am, is just like knowing that God made me who I am and that he loves me no matter what I did, no matter who I slept with, no matter who I done cussed out, no matter what type of thong I put on, right? Like I just know that I am what the Lord has made me to be. And I'm like that for a reason. And knowing that basically like whose I am and who I am, like that just gives me the confidence to go in any space and know like regardless of what you might think of me, like I'm the baddest bitch in here.
And can't nobody fuck with you.
Right. And so, yeah, like I credit a lot of that just to God, like showing me like what he has blessed me with. And like one of my constant prayers, like I literally pray this every day, is God, when people see me, let them see you. When people hear me, let them hear you. When people feel me, let them feel you. And that just gives me like the confidence to go like anywhere.
Period. I love that. That kind of fucked me up a little bit. Took me out the interview. I'm gonna need to start praying that.
Yeah.
That is really beautiful. And I think that you do move with that. Like you really drag niggas, but it's from a place of love.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's God. That's very holy of you. Like I love you, but you need to know.
You gotta fix this.
You gotta know how you fucked up.
Yeah.
And what's wrong and how this is hurting people.
Yeah.
When you take your talents to the internet and you are sounding off in these ways and fighting the oppression, but also educating people, because you don't come off you come off very relatable and accessible in terms of how you speak and how you present.
Yeah.
But you also will read a nigga down. So managing that balance of like, because you're an educator of dragging you, it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, it is. And I'm like kind of gagged that you brought this up, because like I constantly am like mindful of myself. Like I don't always want to be the mad bitch on the internet. Like don't always be the mad bitch. And so like
but we got a lot to be mad about.
Right, absolutely, right. and so it's like such a delicate balance. But I think that you bring up a great point, is that like how I see what I do on the internet, I don't necessarily see it as me just like mad and cussing bitches out for no reason, right? Like I let people have their fun. Like I love all of the things too, right? But if I see something that is marginalizing people for things just based on who they are, like those are the typical things that I'm gonna sound off on. Like when it's something dealing with like foundational core things of who people are, and then like they're being treated differently because of that, that's most likely what I'm gonna sound off on. Because it's like, I believe people can do whatever they want to do as long as you're not hurting nobody else.
Exactly.
But once you start hurting somebody else, then I need to say something to you, because what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. There's a lot of that on the internet, like people just judging just simply out of a place of fear, out of a place of ignorance. Yeah. Instead of just like letting niggas be happy. I see that a lot with black queer folks on the internet. Just black people in general, being happy, doing happy shit. And it's like you read the comments and niggas are mad.
Like let people just have some fun. Like my thing is, life is already hard enough. Bitches is getting shot dead in the streets. We can't even pay our bills week to week.
Come on, DTE cutting off niggas' lights every day.
Every day, like shit. Let me do a little dance if I want to. Let me put on a little outfit if I want to. Like, what's the problem?
I'm not spending your money.
Yeah.
You're not paying my bills.
Come on. But see, I really think that people, and so and I'm also mindful of this too, is like, I don't want people to always be like, oh, here go Paris talking about white supremacy. But literally everything is going to go back to white supremacy.
Because everything is connected to that. That is how our country was founded. So if you tear down every piece of this house right now, what will you be left with? The motherfucking foundation.
Yes.
So if the foundation is not fixed and treated and handled with the care that it needs to be better, your whole shit don't matter what you fix. It's you just put a dress on a pig.
Literally.
You know what I'm saying? And nothing has changed. The core has to change. And I think that you do a really good job at balancing that. And it is a hard fight to have between already as a black person worrying about, do I come off as angry, just period?
Yeah.
Like, do I come off as angry? Then, like, is what I'm saying going to be received?
Yeah.
And doing that, I think you can tell that you are educating niggas, but also your brand of comedy is a little bit of the I'm gonna drag you, nigga. Like I'm funny, I'm witty, I'm sarcastic, I'm smarter than you. Actually, a little bit, very smart, very ghetto,
and very rich.
very, very rich. I think that you, as you continue to wrestle with that concept, your episodes, your shows, your clips, your reads on the internet are gonna continue to get better, because it does feel like that. But niggas are they're gonna be resistant.
Yeah. And
sometimes.
something that I have to keep in mind is like, at the end of the day, like at my core, like I'm a teacher. And like I'm just gonna always be a teacher. And sometimes the lesson is gonna be tough. And that's okay.
That's hard. Learning is not easy. You learn your best lessons when it is hard.
Yeah.
If it was just quick, fast, and hard, you probably would have forgot or have to keep relearning it. And I think that's how people be trying to teach racism. Like, oh, that happened. It's done.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just Band-Aid it.
Yeah.
Like, no, we need to spend time in every single class talking about and unlearning the racism or the homophobia or the misogyny or whatever it is.
Literally, like all of the isms that we deal with, even everything that we've been talking about in this episode, right? Like we think like, oh, that's just how people are and this is just the way the world is. But no, like literally all of these things are symptoms of white supremacy.
Yeah.
I would not have a homophobic family if white supremacy did not tell folks that homophobia was wrong.
Right.
I mean that
being gay was
right.
wrong.
That homosexuality was
right.
was wrong.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. And people think that if they just mind their business about it, it solves it. It's okay. But it's like you have to really unlearn that.
Yeah.
And everybody don't got that. They don't have the energy. They don't have the effort. They don't have to give a fuck. It's easier to be ignorant.
Yeah. It literally is so much easier, to not know. And like when people used to say ignorance is bliss, like I never really understood that until I understood
I don't be
it.
Enjoying nothing. I'm serious about everything.
Like, fuck, I wish I didn't know this shit.
Like, damn, this is not funny. Like, I can't like this photo or I can't like this caption or whatever. Like, damn, Starbucks or whatever the case may be. It's like,
what?
I can't fuck with this.
Listen, like
it would be easier not to know.
I'm still ignorant when it comes to Chick-fil-A, but like, cause that's one thing I can't really recognize the truth on just yet. But it's hard. Okay.
Same. I'm gonna get that cookies and cream milkshake
every time. Okay.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A for me is one of them ones where I'm like,
all right. I mean, shit, I still eat my mama food sometimes. Shit, mine as well.
That is something that I think that a lot of people don't understand either. Like how you navigate the balancing your relationship. Like I love you as my mother, but also you be fucked up sometimes, but I still love you. So I'm gonna still like come around or whatever. But can we work on not being like explicitly harmful and hurtful to me?
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, can we work on that?
Yeah.
And because it's lonely, it could be lonely.
Yeah. And I'm grateful though, because like people in my family that might have felt a certain way when the news first dropped, the ones that really like were there for me have like made like strides to change, or just like recognize stuff that they thought that they really didn't even know was
Homophobic.
Right. And then like now they're like, okay, well now I see Parrish. So thank you. Right.
Yeah.
And so I am grateful for that. But it is like lonely sometimes because it's like, damn, like literally we're all socialized to be homophobic. Like even us as gay folks,
the
right?
homophobia that gets repeated in
all
the queer
time.
community is crazy. I was out the other day and a girl who identifies as a stud and which is a black lesbian who is a little more masculine for folks at home.
My favorite kind of people.
Okay. She was asking me who's the man in my relationship. And I said, it's two women in the relationship.
Yeah, what you talking about?
And she said, well, who take out the trash? I said, it depends.
Whoever want to take it out.
It depends on whatever the day is. Like, it depends on who's doing what. If it need to go out, if I got shoes on, if she got shoes on. Like, it just depends. The trash is right there. Like, it's not hard.
And it's so crazy because, like, I really just want us to start, like, thinking, like, okay, why am I even thinking this in the first place, right? Because, like, me, myself, even I have to...
You have to...
stop myself and, like, understand.
Initial implicit response. And I think that people think that because that implicit response, it says something that's what they have to believe. But the part of unlearning is that implicit response is going to go off because that's what we've been conditioned to do.
And you need to say why.
And you need to say why. Hold on. What the fuck? Let me stop. Hold on. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the unlearning. And then eventually those implicit responses will change into something else because you've reprogrammed your body, your mind to think something else. But it's not that's going to go away immediately because that's what you see every fucking where.
Yeah. And the problem is people just think that, oh, that's just how I am. Baby, that is not, let me tell y'all this. That is not just that. Okay, baby, you have been socialized and indoctrinated to think and do some of these things that we do, and you need to always ask yourself why.
Why? And even, I think a good place of, if you don't want to interrogate, why am I doing this? Maybe even ask yourself, do I like doing this? Are these things that I like to do? What do I like to do in a relationship? What do I like to do in my friendships? Like, I think there's a lot of overlap in between how we show up as friends already and then how we show up as lovers, obviously with a little more romantic sprinkled in there. But like a lot of that is very similar. So like think about those things. How do you show up? And then find a partner who you can communicate that with. But I have dated women who have definitely tried to replicate very patriarchal, damn, this is a struggle to get out, Lord Jesus, very patriarchal ideas in our relationships. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I feel like, let's see where we're at.
It feels so boring to be gay and still want to be in a patriarchic structure.
Why am I labeled queer if I gotta do the same shit?
Like, I want to do some other shit. Let me twerk on this table while my nigga is cooking. Like, what? Like, what? I want to do stuff that's fun. And that's not fun.
It's not fun. It's not creative.
Yeah.
It's not imaginative. It's not radical at all to like just replicate the same shit that you see everyone else doing. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I love about being queer is because you get to say, hold on, without anyone like shoving their traditional ideals. Yeah. Because niggas don't really know what it's like to be in a healthy, long-term, sustaining queer relationship. Even our queer friends don't necessarily know what that's like. So it's like, I at least get to show up in my relationship and like show other people what things could possibly look like, what reimagining the world around me can look like. And you do a great fucking job at that as well.
Thank you. And like, I think if everybody understood that it would be so much different. Have you seen that commercial? It's like a Down syndrome commercial.
It's so good.
It's so good, right?
Give me the chance. When you assume that I can't do something,
it's so good.
I also assume and move into a lifestyle where just I think that I can also not do anything. Like,
and my hope is that people can realize that commercial and that message is more than just Down syndrome. Like, that's for every marginalized thing, person, identity, whatever. If you stop assuming, okay, strictly for the niggas, okay? If you stop assuming and let us do our thing, we will show you what the truth is.
And we so good at everything.
Everything.
So yeah, it's wild. But being the trailblazer, that is no easy feat. And we have to go through, I think, a pretty extraordinary set of circumstances, trials, and tribulations in order to be a trailblazer. Like, you don't just get labeled that for no reason. And I'm stepping into that season more in my life and owning like, oh, this shit has been hard because ain't nobody else do this in my family before. Like, nobody moved away single, not because they had a nigga who got a job and had to go wherever. Like, nobody just said, I'm gonna go figure out and live a life for myself and discover who I am, and I don't really need your support to do this, but this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that shit was very lonely.
Yeah.
Like, I think my crux in life is my loneliness overall, but that for sure, I needed to go through that. And now I'm like, oh, I know what I need. I know how to articulate that. I know how I want to show up. I know who I am in these spaces.
Yeah.
I'm not influenced by you.
Hey. Listen, like that thing just hit me because like I've literally been thinking to myself, like it's in those moments, in those lowest places, in those valleys, right? Where you get the skills to take you to the mountaintop. And literally like after you're like down in that low place and feeling lonely, right? Like just think of so I'm in that place currently for different reasons, right? But I'm just holding on, and I'm just so grateful for the moment when I can just get to the top and see that's exactly why I was down there. Because now I would never be there again.
You can feel the lesson happening. You can feel the shaping happening, and that's why that shit it hurts. It's hard. Like you think about a caterpillar in a cocoon busting out of that shit. Like it's not easy. It's beautiful when you watch it on a time lapse. Yeah, but if you were actually there, if we had a little baby microphone, you hear that shit busting, cracking, like all sorts of shit. That shit not easy.
Not at all.
When we being molded, it's not easy, but it is a hell of a fucking journey. And I feel like I'm a better person on the other side of it for a lot of different reasons. And I feel like I'm kind of coming out on the other side. I'm like right at that last little part of the hill to get at the top.
I love it.
And I'm like starting to look back and be like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why
that happened.
This is that. This is that. I had to set some really hard boundaries with my parents. And I didn't talk to my dad for about 3 years. And he texted me in August and was like, you know, oh, it's gonna make me cry. He texted me in August and just said like he's quitting his job. He's been retired from the military, so that's been a thing for years. But then he liked to work, so he was back at a job doing a little job. So he's like, I'm about to retire. It's been fucking with my anxiety. Basically, I'm in therapy. I am. I want to be a better dad. Like I realize it's fuck with my ability to like show up fully as a parent. And I was like, okay, like a little hesitant because he also has been on some, I say one thing, do another thing for a lot of my life. Thank you. And so I was just like, okay, but since August, like we have gotten so close. We talk almost every day. We FaceTime, we check in. Like the other night I was like, oh, he really loves me. Like we were eating dinner and he was just still talking to me. Like this is the same man who had me blocked for a minute. This is the same man who like you would call him and he would be annoyed. He would be like, why are you calling me for it? Only call you to basically yell at you. Like he calls to check on me just to see how I'm doing. He sent me money just off the love. Like here's 500. Like
wow.
Damn, like thank you. I love you. So that boundary that I had to set, now I can see, like I can fully see. I knew it then, like you know it. Yeah. You know it. You know why you doing it, but you don't feel it. It's like you going through that motion of like trying to believe that it's gonna work out and you're convincing yourself. And I'm finally at the place where I'm like, I'm convinced. Yeah. I'm not quite all the way there yet, but I'm convinced because I see the way that this, like, how my dad has come around. Yeah. And I know that if he can come around because of that boundary that I set and how I showed up for myself because I knew what I needed, then the way that I can navigate life now moving forward with anybody, with anything, like, oh, all y'all niggas can move the fuck around. Like, a person I thought would never changed because I said so. Oh.
What's up? Listen, like that story is hitting so hard for me right now because I'm on the other end of someone's boundary, right? And it's forcing me to really like be introspective and interrogate why I do certain things and change myself. So this, like what you're saying, like it's hitting so like differently for me. I'm about to jump out my skin. Run around this room right now.
What?
Yes.
Boundaries are hard. Yes. They are so fucking hard. And it hurt me. It hurts to set a boundary with somebody you love too. Like it hurt me. I miss my dad so much. I miss my mom so much. I know it impacted the way that we communicated with each other. And I was going through a fucking lot. And I probably would have been going through a lot less if I was with like being able to be in community with them. But I just couldn't. Yeah. Like there was some things that they were doing that were toxic as fuck. And I had to stand on business. Big business.
Big business.
When you say no to your parents, the people that birthed you, and you put a hard boundary boundary, you're not going for shit, like that's hard.
That's big business.
I didn't see my grandmother the way I needed to because of that. Like it impacted me in hard ways too. Like I'm still processing like the guilt I feel from not seeing my grandmother because how I felt about my mom and my dad, you know? But I still know like where I'm at right now, like my grandmother would be happy that it is where it is now. And I didn't have to compromise what I needed and who I am in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, you did exactly what you needed to do for you. And because of that, not only are you better, but the people who you were involved with are better as well.
And that's all I ever want from niggas. I'm like, let's just be better.
Like, let's just be better.
Let's just be better.
Literally, like one of my own personal mantras is to get better at getting better. Like I'm just always gonna get better at getting better.
Abso-fucking-lutely. It is not easy to know that you're not doing well and then just to sit in that place. Like that's how people's guilt and shame and just ugliness shows up. It gets you stuck as fuck.
Don't get stuck in the guilt. Don't get stuck in the shame.
But when you get out of it and you just keep moving, you're gonna be a lot further. And when then eventually that emotion will feel better and you'll be in a whole nother place. But if you just stay in that shame, you'll never even move. Okay. You're not going nowhere. Don't stay in that spot.
Come on.
Don't stay in that spot.
You preaching to me, baby. Listen. Okay, thought it was a convo. It's a sermon. What?
Don't stay in that spot. Does when you are feeling this way, like kind of in a, would you say it's a depression, or when you say like it's just like a lower point for you, or how would you describe it?
So for me, I don't think I've ever gotten to the place to be depressed. And I think it's because I just always feel like in the hand of the Lord, right? And I think like, hey, come on. Like, I just always feel like though I'm lonely, like I be lonely. I be like, especially in this like season of like feeling like I've messed up something that was the best thing that had ever happened to me. It does get lonely. Like I be sad as fuck, like down. But I've never felt alone, right? Like, and I always say, like, when I'm talking,
I'm holy by my own. That's a Jamila Woods song. Like, I have that tattooed on me. Lonely, but I'm not alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, never.
Yeah, I'm never alone. Like, times may get lonely. I might feel moments of loneliness, right? Like, oh, I feel moments of loneliness. That takes me back to that Jasmine Sullivan song, that little intro. Listen, no. My girl said, I feel moments of sadness, but same, right?
Sad and lonely,
okay. Okay, anyway, but like, yes, but I'm never alone because I always have faith that like whatever I'm going through is going to teach me something to get better for the next season. Yeah. And though it's hard in that moment, I just know joy comes in the morning. It might not be tomorrow morning, but one of these mornings.
That's why I love tomorrows.
Yes. That's why I love tomorrow. What? Okay. It might not be tomorrow morning, but one of these mornings.
One of the tomorrows. It's an S on it.
Okay, I'm going to be up. I'm going to be up.
It's one of them. If you quit now, you won't see it. You got to keep going. It's going to be there.
Got to keep going.
It's going to be there. I love this theme of just believing and seeing it through and trusting yourself and trusting your gut. How is that showing up as you are coming back to Pardon Me with P?
Yeah. So I'm just really like, I feel really different in this season of like relaunching my show and like bringing it back. And I often like think back to like when I first started, because at this point, like I started Pardon Me with P in 2020. So it's been 4 years, right? And in the grand scheme of things, like I feel like it should have been something like bigger at a certain point, but so many different things happened throughout that journey that like now I'm just grateful for like the vision that I have for it and like finally getting to like move towards it. But there was a time when I started, like I was so committed to not being a content creator, right? Like I was like, at that time, I was just so stubborn, like, nope, I'm a professional, I have a job, but I also just have a YouTube show, right? So like, don't call me no content creator. I'm not no influencer, right? Like I was so stuck in that.
Was that from fear?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it was from fear because of, I knew like the power of what I could be, but I was terrified because of what I felt was like a lack of skill. So like a lot of people don't know this, but I have a speech impediment. And so like, I can do a YouTube show because if I stutter, I could just edit the shit out. Like, okay, boom, cool, easy. I could just do the line again. But if I blow up, I gotta talk all the time. I'm gonna have to be over here saying this. I'm gonna have to be over here doing this. Can I really do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so a lot of that was...
Yes, you can.
Right. And so a lot of that was fear, but I think that it was irrational fear because like so many times, time and time again, the Lord has shown me that I can in spite of my speech impediment. Literally, like everything that I've ever done, effective communication was the like key tenet of that. And I had to talk. Being a teacher, you gotta speak. Doing the job I have now, I have to speak. And it's like, he showed me that I can do it regardless, but I was just so stubborn in the fact like, well, nope, I'm gonna just get my job like everybody else and just, do my thing for what I can. But now I'm realizing like, no, like you have like what I feel like what I have to say or like what I want to share with the world like deserves to be heard, and I see it impacting people already.
Absolutely.
So,
already.
Yeah. And so like I can't be scared or like fearful, and just like I always remember the story of Moses, and like Moses had a speech impediment and he freed his people, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Like I'm here for Black liberation, right? And so this is crazy, but like I be thinking like I'm Moses sometimes. Like, okay, God, like what's
it's giving
up?
Moses. I'm gonna start calling you that.
Okay, so
free us,
okay. Right?
Trying to, again, it's a lot of fine lines that we're walking a tightrope often.
Yeah.
And putting yourself out there in that way opens you up to a lot of different things. How have you been feeling like creating the content and showing up now that you're in this space, like just even pushing through the feelings that you are, the valley that you're in, and like seeing that this is something that's important? Because before, I know you have mentioned like you feel like your show should be way further along if you would kind of have stuck to it and been disciplined. So to be in a valley already emotionally because of life and the things that God and whatever else is throwing at you, and then to still be like, okay, I need to get back in my motherfucking bag.
Like that's such an interesting spot to be in, because like I already had plans last year, like, oh yeah, 2024 about to be it. Like, oh yeah, like I'm about to hit the ground running. It's over for you bitches. Like I'm going crazy.
You're cooked.
Okay, you're cooked. So that was the plan, but then January 1st, I get dumped. So, literally fucked my whole shit
Why
up.
you couldn't do it on December 31st?
Listen.
Why you couldn't let me leave this in last year?
Listen. So,
that's crazy.
So that threw me off, right? But,
of course.
But in retrospect, I feel like it was supposed to happen like that, because it really made me sit down and focus and like not get stuck in the complacency that I probably was getting used to, and like realize like, okay, Parrish, not only do you need to like focus on getting your like show back, but you need to figure out what led you to get dumped and be a better person from that, and that will in turn make sure that you're just a better person all around, all together, right? So I'm kind of grateful that happened, because that's actually why I'm like, you know what, let me do my Black History Month schedule. Let me like start, just putting all of this into content or whatever.
So you only took a month.
Yeah.
So you said, all right, I got 31 days in January. You said I got 31 days.
Literally, and I said
February 1st. I don't give a fuck.
Okay, I gotta go, because I knew my plan was to like do something special for my relaunch, but I also didn't want to miss Black History Month, and I wanted to see like, okay, let me just use this as like a test. Yeah,
genius.
Yeah,
people should A/B test more.
Yeah,
I feel like it's okay to just say like, I'm just about to try some shit, I'm putting some shit out, and maybe people like it, maybe they don't, but just give yourself the opportunity to see what it is that they do and don't like before you think about it so much and get so far down a path that you've already committed. Your ego has committed. Yeah, you're like, I'm doing this. Like sometimes just let the people, they will tell you what they like.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad that like it's all like happening now, because I feel like I learned a lot of lessons from the breaks that I had to take from like learning how not to talk about white folks and like how to say white supremacy. Because there was a time when my show first dropped, like I've always talked about race relations, I've always talked about politics or like whatever the case might be, but I will always say like white folks or like I like the word bitches. I think that bitches is a term of endearment. So sometimes it would come out like white bees, whatever the case might be, right? And so that can come off as like I have an interpersonal problem with individual white people. Yeah. And that's never the case, right? Like that's never the like frame that I was coming from. Yeah. It was always white supremacy and whiteness and the systems, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't learn like how to message what I wanted to say correctly until I was impacted by doing it how I was. Yeah. And now like having that insight and being able to know like, oh, I can still talk about what I need to talk about. I just need to frame it in a way that nobody can say that this is what I did not mean. You know?
Absolutely. You got to get real clear. Yeah. Real surgical. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important. And also time helps us come back to the table feeling differently. I feel that way about Heavy on the Feelings. We had talked a little bit about that before we started filming. Like I have been in iterations of this show. If y'all follow on social, you can see I have some posts where I talked about, I think maybe around 2015, 2017, I started doing like a weekly message for a little over a year where I would just be reflecting every Monday. It was called Soul Circle. Like I would just be reflecting, kind of giving people some prompts, almost like some journal type shit. And the subscriber list like grew to over 100, which was cool as fuck because it was literally just like me texting. Like I wasn't telling people to like join it. People would just post it and people wanted to be added. So that was something I did. Then it evolved into a podcast with just that show. Then some friends had a podcast. I was on that talking about some feelings and emotions. And then it evolved into like me trying to do Heavy on the Feelings again and realizing like if you watch the pilot, which you say you did, like it was a lot. Like I cooked, I did all of these things and just like then reapproaching the show last year. So actually Shay's second episode, Jen's episode, and Jess's episode, which is dropping on Easter, were all filmed almost a year ago. And now being here with you in 2024, it's like I needed all of those experiences to determine what exactly I wanted and why and what things were important and what weren't and how to scale and how to make sense of the resources that I have and the people that I have around me. I needed to build relationships. I've built relationships with Barry. I've built relationships with Seven. I've built relationships with JG, with Jam, with my partner. Like I have these relationships that also take a lot of time to be like, oh, y'all want to do this with me? Like, and they also need to see, because they're giving me their time. They also need to see like, are you committed? Yeah. Like for real? Like are people like, do you believe in yourself enough for us to value that time? And no one ever approached me in that way necessarily, but I feel like coming into the season of being on that top of that mountain is like, I know that I believe in myself enough now. And so I can approach this work knowing confidently like, I give a fuck about what I have to say. I give a fuck about my guests. I'm very considerate of people and their time and making sure that what we say here and what is leaving the show, I feel like I can stand on. And it's not just me just chatting with homegirls and telling you what event is coming up or whatever. Like those shows have a place. But for me, I want it to be heavy on the feelings. Yeah. I want people to walk away understanding a little bit more about the human that I'm chatting with and have a little more empathy and understanding for the world that we navigate and have a little more understanding of themselves
I
too.
think that's exactly what you do.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So it is taking some time to get here and to build the team and to feel the way that I do and to know like when we leave these recordings, like I feel satisfied and I'm not like in my head about certain things and I just feel good, you know? Like I feel like mission wise, obviously producer, director, editor in me is like, how about what if I'm messaging Seven like, hey, next time I think we need to make a note of so like that stuff. But mission wise, I feel so good, but it took a long time to get here. So we are arriving in that place together, and that is really nice to be in company with people who are doing similar things but different, and knowing like again we mirror each other. We mirror each other. Like
I agree. Like I'm just so grateful to like even be here and like talk to you and like just be in a different space and like on a different type of show, but still a show that like it's for the liberation of people, right? I feel like your show also liberates like the messaging that people receive from watching and like being able to know that feelings are okay to feel, and it's okay because we might have some big feelings, right? But I feel like once people realize that it's okay to experience these things and talk about these things. And like, you don't got to be perfect, right? Nothing is ever going to be perfect. Like, it's freedom within that.
Yeah.
So I thank you for having me on here, because like, this is healing for me. Like, even hearing you tell your story about your dad and like the boundary that you set for him and how like that changed him and made him a better person. Like, I'm literally here like thinking like, oh, I can't wait to be the better person after this boundary was set on me, right? And like, I almost cried, because it's like, damn, like, this is really like, the lives that we live are such a journey. But if you really take time to sit back and take the lessons, like, you'll be so like grateful for it.
Grateful. And that's something I'm going to take away from this episode about you, is that you just, first off, God speaks through you. Like, it's an aura. Like, it just, you glow with God, right? And you also are so gracious. Like, going through, it's rare to, I feel like I have a lot of gratitude, but it's rare to meet somebody else who is like constantly talking about being grateful, and you can feel it in their energy. Like, not necessarily trying to convince themselves, but they're already convicted. Like, I know that this wouldn't happen to me if God hadn't already worked me and brought me through it. You know? And to be grateful in that way when you're going through a storm is a true testament to who you are. So when we leave this episode, like, I am going back into my practice of gratitude and telling myself to step that shit the fuck up. I needed this reminder. I needed to see you and to hear you where you were at, to like be able to have a little more faith and come back to myself a little more. And we can always be a little bit better in our faith and our gratitude journey. So I thank you for sharing that with me. Do you have any takeaways that you want to share from the episode? The teacher in you? A little spark notes.
It was so, well, first, I feel like everything we talked about was just so amazing. I loved like just being able to just like really get heavy on the feelings with you, right? As far as the takeaway, is this like a takeaway for me or for the people?
It could be for you. Yeah, okay. It's for you. It's for you.
For me, what I'm taking away from this conversation is that I think, I don't know if this is a takeaway or just me. I don't know if this is the takeaway, but first, before I get my takeaway, I want to say thank you for recognizing, or just like saying that, like, what, like the light that you see within me, right? I feel like, I don't know, that it feels like the compliment, like, it's just me like living in my answered prayer. So I thank you for that. But for me, the takeaway in this whole lesson, or like, I feel like the part that really convicted me the most, honestly, was that though folks might set boundaries, right? I feel like your story with your dad and like your family and how like you're like getting better after that, like, to me, that's been the thing that I've been struggling the most since January 1st. It's like having a boundary set on me, knowing that I loved that person so much and like still wanted that, but couldn't because of what I was doing. Yeah. Right. But still like hearing that you were in a similar space, but as the other person, and like still being in a space to forgive your dad and like receive him afterward as long as he got better. Right. Like that's giving me so much hope. Like that's making me feel like that's just putting me in a new place of like, yes, I'm going to continue to work for me. Yes, I'm going to continue to get better at getting better, but I will never let go of the hope that I might be forgiven. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I thank you for sharing that. And I thank you for like speaking to me when you didn't even know that you were speaking to me. That is the key takeaway, is knowing that I just have so much hope from like learning that even though you set that boundary, that you were still in this place to forgive and like welcome the growth. Like that's just pushing me so much harder just to keep growing, so I can get to that place faster, and I might be like forgiving faster, right? Like, oh, I can't wait to get there. But
a real nigga would have been forgiving you, and I had forgiven my dad, and I think the work that you have to do is not necessarily, the real work is not necessarily fighting for that forgiveness. It's trusting that you're forgiven. Yeah. you know? And I feel like my dad, I forgave my parents a long time ago. A long time. When I moved out the house, I forgave them. I can understand why they are the way that they are and how they navigate and why and all of that's my trauma. Like my alertness and awareness and keen sense of who's doing what and why they move like that. That's my trauma. So I've been forgave them, but they have to get to a place. I don't think my mom is at that place, but my dad is at the place where I feel like he feels like, oh, she really forgives me. Like it's not. It's his own guilt, his own shame made him feel like I didn't. But it's like, I've been forgave you. Yeah. You carrying that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. Like, I know that the person forgave me already, but just hearing like the openness to like continue something in the future, I feel like that's what's giving me hope. It's like, okay, it's still possible.
Period. We love.
Okay.
As we wrap up, what do you need to hear for your feelings as we go into the next few weeks?
Oh, that's a good question. For my feelings, I need to hear.
Period. Repeat the prompt, teacher.
Yes. Okay. For my feelings, I need to hear, when things get rough, do not revert to the things you committed to not going back to.
Period. Period. For myself, I would say keep getting out of your head and into your body, which is something my homegirl says, out your head and in your body. Like, I talk myself out of a lot of shit. My anxiety, my depression, my ADHD, I'm fighting a lot of battles. Okay? I'm fighting a lot of battles. And also the perfectionist in me, like the master's degree in me, the highly educated scholar is like, no, everything needs to be a very particular, and if it can't be, then I won't do it. Fuck it. And that hinders me. So I need to continue to get out of my head into my body. And when I do, it has been paying off a lot. And I just need to trust that. Like, just keep going through the motions. Everything is not going to be the best thing that you created every single time, but everything has purpose. You know what I'm saying? I saw LaRussell had said, like, he thinks about engagement like money. Like, every transaction is not $1 million. You're gonna get $1,000 one day, you're gonna get 50, 5,000, whatever the case may be, but it's all money coming in. So I'm trying to be in that bag. That's what I need to tell myself: out your head and in your body. Shout out to my best friend Courtney for that.
I love it.
So thank you so much, P, for spending time with me today. Like, I'm taking away so much. I've learned so much from you. I have just been able to see a different side of you that I felt like I knew, but we haven't actually sat down and had these conversations. And it's beautiful to see another layer of who you are. Because, you know, Shrek said we like onions.
Yes.
Or was that donkey? In the movie Shrek. Okay. So can you let the audience know where they can find you?
Yes. All right. So y'all can find me on Instagram at PardonMeWithP or at Pardon Me or at _SoldierRoy. You can also find me on Twitter, Pardon Me with P, TikTok, Pardon Me with P, YouTube, Pardon Me with P.
Pardon me with P.
Pardon
okay?
me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. So, all right, y'all. Our time today is ending, but don't worry. Don't let it weigh too heavy on your feelings. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of HOTF. And in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, okay? If you fucking with this episode, come to our Instagram at Heavy on the Feelings. And until next time, off to the beaches, fuckers.
Period.
Period.
Sage read a page in the book. Sis, pull up on me. Come have breakfast in the nook. All the worries went away, cause that was yesterday. Actually, I think that we deserve some rest, okay? Now let me ask you, friend, have you ate today? Maybe we could chef it up and make us a plate and make it feel like May, even if skies are gray. We letting off the good vibes and watch them ricochet and let the negativity just dissipate. You can chill and drink your chai and participate. You're watching Heavy on the Fields with Aaron A. We march to our own drum, it's how we operate. We on that healing girl tip, yeah. Yeah, flying we a trip. Yeah, at first I was slipping and I finally got a grip. We manifesting and we earning. Might just get a twerking. Cooking up, we stirring. We still healing, we still working. That's real.
Sundown wind chimes, break it down.